It's nearly 24 hours. Just 24 hours ago, horror ruled the streets. This street, number 79, on the upscale posh Gulshan 2 area of Dhaka. Right behind me is that popular eatery, the multi-story cafeteria, which was a popular joint for young people, for locals, for expats and diplomats, where suddenly assailants chanting Allahu Akbar, Islamic radicals, stormed in on Friday night, hurled grenades, randomly shot at people. After massive operations conducted by, of course, the rapid action battalions, the police and the army, 15 people were rescued, but 20 civilians lost their lives, including 2 senior policemen as well. And these attacks in Dhaka coming just a few days after that attack on that gay club in Orlando. This has clearly, of course, raised a severe concern about the rise of Islamic as well as other terror outfits.
Bringing an end to 12-hour-long siege, Bangladeshi security forces eliminating 6 Islamic State terrorists and arresting 1. Gunmen had stormed the Holy Artisan Bakery Cafe in Dhaka.
7 জন সন্ত্রাসীর মধ্যে 6 জন সন্ত্রাসী নিহত হয় এবং একজন সন্দেহভাজন সন্ত্রাসী গ্রেপ্তার করা হয়.
All 20 people killed during the terror strike were foreign nationals. Indian citizen Tarishi Jain was among those who lost their lives during the siege.
Right behind me is the lane that leads up to that multi-story cafeteria where armed assailants stormed in, hurled grenades, chanting prayers, and then, of course, trapped in people as hostages. According to the police and the army, 20 people killed, 20 innocents, including some Italians, Japanese, as well as an Indian young girl, only 18 years of age, whose family is clearly traumatized at the moment.
Condemning the attack, Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina vowed to eradicate terrorism.
Everybody is very cautioned. Everybody got shocked. The city, the country, everybody couldn't even imagine this can happen in a city like Dhaka.
Bangladesh is already reeling under spate of murders of secular bloggers, activists and academics. The timing, the target and the message of the latest daring attack in Dhaka was loud and clear. With Smita Sharma in Dhaka, Bureau Report, India Today.
Well, the Bengali cultural national identity, the liberal secular values were the very foundation that led to, of course, Bangladesh attaining freedom in 1971. Today, those very principles seem under attack. In fact, even as terrorists stormed that cafeteria, people were questioning, is there an increasing breeding ground for radicalism in Bangladesh? I have a gentleman here, in fact. Sir, could you please tell me your name? And I believe you are related to this cafeteria.
Yes, I am.
Please tell us, what is it?
I was passing through this area last night at 9:30. So suddenly I found some gunshots, and I was in the car, and I dropped my car, and I started walking to the Badidhara side.
So you come often to this cafeteria here?
No, not in often, but sometimes.
Right. And it's your niece who runs this
Yes,
cafeteria
it
in
is.
partnership?
Partnership of the Spanish and Italian.
Okay.
Their chefs are from Italy, and I'm Argentinian.
Did you ever imagine that horror could come home, terror could come home
Never.
so close like this?
Never.
Never.
Bangladesh, we thought Bangladesh is a very peaceful country.
Right.
But now we found something is going to be happening now.
So you think that this is just going to be the start of things ominous?
Now I believe that it's just start, just the beginning.
Okay. You know, Dhaka streets are really congested most of the time. Of course, this is Ramzan. Most people have gone to their villages. So maybe the streets are much more deserted. But also, people not really willing to come out of their home this Saturday evening. Though Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, of course, took to a televised, national speech. She also addressed the press. And she said that her government will make sure that the perpetrators of this attack are brought to justice, and she will clamp down upon Islamic Islamic radicalism. And you know, this tragedy has just been brought home closer by the loss of that young life, Tarishi Jain, 18-year-old Indian. The Indian High Commissioner to Dhaka, Harsh Shringla, he went and met with Tarishi's family. They are inconsolable. Remember, there have also been series of attacks against Hindu minorities in Bangladesh. I caught up with Harsh Shringla and asked him if he thinks that the threat perceptions against Hindu minorities and nationals have just gone up. Listen in to what he had to reply. The Dhaka tragedy just came closer home to India with the loss of an Indian life, a young girl, Tarishi Jain, who had been taken hostage during that hostage crisis. And she, of course, later on succumbed to her injuries. I'm joined here by the Indian High Commissioner to Dhaka, Mr. Harsh Shringla. High Commissioner, you've just met the family. This must be just such a traumatizing moment for all of them.
Well, Smita, in the course of one's career, you go through quite a lot of experiences. But I must say, one of the hardest experiences I've gone through in my life was what I just went through, giving my condolences to the parents of a young 18-year-old girl whose life has been brutally snuffed out. And all I can say was that it was a devastating experience.
What do we know really about Tarishi? You know, was she taken hostage and then was she fired a bullet at? What really do we know? And we do understand that she was a student of UC Berkeley.
Well, Tarishi has lived in Dhaka because her parents, who are Indian nationals, have business in Dhaka. They are in the garments business. So she's done her studies in Dhaka, her schooling in Dhaka. And she'd just gone to Berkeley for a university. And apparently she had come for holidays and she was due to leave tomorrow back to her college. And obviously she was, a very young, bright girl at... I would say at a very important stage of her life, and it's a singular tragedy that she has met the fate that she did. And we really, I can say that we are so sorry. I mean, on behalf of, and I did tell her parents, I said I'm carrying the grief of our leadership, but also of the entire, all people of India. I mean, we all share the grief that is there. Her parents, with her parents, her family, but also the families of the other victims,
right,
who were affected by the tragedy, including those Bangladesh police personnel who laid down their lives in the call of duty.
But, is there an assessment that foreign nationals were targeted specifically, that Bangladeshi nationals were actually separated? Because one Indian apparently who could speak Bengali, that's how that Indian could manage to escape, while Tarishi could not.
Well, the details are still emerging, and we're still trying to piece together the actual, recount of what happened. So let us see, as we get the information, we will try and have a more accurate picture.
One final question to you, Harsh. Over the last few months, we have seen these targeting of individuals, atheists, bloggers, and a lot of Hindu minorities. The RK mission in Dhaka was also, received a threat call just a few days back. With what played out on Friday night, is there a larger threat perception now to the Indian nationals or to the Hindu community? How would you assess that?
Well, obviously, those who are perpetrating these acts of terrorism have taken it to a higher level in the incident, the attack we saw at the Holy Cafe. Earlier, the modus operandi was to target vulnerable sections of the population, but it was isolated and random. What you've seen now is a very calculated act of terrorism, and this is something that has happened right in the heart of Dhaka, in the heart of establishment, next to the diplomatic enclave, in a place where a lot of foreigners frequent. So it has been a very calculated move.
Just one last question. What's the kind of contact that has been established between the Indian and the Bangladeshi leadership? Has there been a direct, in fact, phone call between Ms. Sheikh Hasina and the Prime Minister or yourself? And is Dhaka seeking closer cooperation on this fight against terror from India?
Well, the Prime Minister spoke to Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina this evening. And he condemned the terrorist attack in the strongest terms, and he also said we stand with our brothers and sisters of Bangladesh in this hour of grief for them. So he has both conveyed his support to Bangladesh in the fight for terrorism, and at the same time conveyed his condolences to the people of Bangladesh for this tragedy.
Well, clearly, this insane violence in this holy month of Ramzan, it shook not just Bangladesh, but India, and India values Bangladesh, and also that young Indian girl who lost her life, the family, of course, inconsolable, but this just drives home the point that how much more countries need to come together to fight the scourge of extremism and violence. Here in Dhaka, with video journalist Kripal Singh, this is Smita Sharma for India Today. As police got into action, they realized that perhaps the expertise to deal with terrorists in Dhaka lay with the rapid action battalions that comprises of police officials and army men. Also, the army, in fact, being roped in to try and go ahead with that counter-offense strikes in Dhaka to end the operations after nearly 11 grueling hours. Meanwhile, several, in fact, urgent meetings were convened. High-level meetings were taking place at the Prime Minister's office, with the Home Minister, with the security agencies. The mayor, in fact, of North Dhaka city, he was in Moscow. He too got a call from Sheikh Hasina. He had to rush back in. And I caught up with the mayor and asked him if Dhaka and Bangladesh today has changed after this horrific incident. India Today's crew has just landed in Dhaka, and in fact I'm joined here by Mr. Anisul Haq, who's the mayor of North Dhaka city, and had to actually cut short his trip to Moscow as his city faced that horrific terror strike on the midnight of Friday and Saturday. Mr. Haq, has Dhaka woken up as a different city today, as a city that is traumatized, or as a city that has a lot of fears at this point in time?
I just got into from Moscow, as you said, so I haven't met anybody personally as yet. But what I have communicated over the last 12 years, what I have communicated over the last 12 hours, everybody is very cautioned. Everybody got shocked. The city, the country, everybody couldn't even imagine this can happen in a city like Dhaka.
This is an area that you have grown up in. Your family goes to this cafeteria.
Yeah, this is the area where I live nearby. This is the area where I have grown, and this is an area which is under my jurisdiction as a mayor. I and we could never think that such incident with AK-47, with so much of plan, can happen. And not only me, as I understand, that nobody could even thought that this sort of fanatics are there who can kill the innocent people.
How do you stop it? This entire psyche of people walking into cafeterias, choosing soft targets. As a mayor of the city, what would be your message to the people today, and what would you like to appeal to them?
I can only tell that Bangladesh is a miracle country. Dhaka is a miracle city, the most dense city of the world. Still we are living side by side with happiness. So we are sure that we have to do something. And it's we the people, we have to wake up. We have to communicate more. We have to make clubs that we cannot allow this sort of things. It's a plain land. It's not a hilly land. It's not easy to train or make this sort of camps. But now this incident making us very careful, and I'm sure there must something to happen. There must happen something, and we will do it.
The holy cafeteria, in fact, that entire lane has been barricaded. People, media persons are not allowed to go inside that area, which is guarded by the Bangladeshi, in fact, the Dhaka Metropolitan Police, the Rapid Action Battalions. Media continues to dot the street here. But remember, in Bangladesh, while we have seen several, in fact, targeted murders of individuals, atheists, bloggers, in some cases, terror strikes and attacks, both Al-Qaeda and the ISIS have tried taking credit for. The Bangladeshi government says that behind these attacks are local outfits like the Ansarul Bangla that are patronized by the Jamaat and the opposition BNP. But the ISIS has staked claim for this attack, and in fact, in its magazine, it also says that it will now use Bangladesh and Pakistan to launch terror attacks against India.
Our NIA, our intelligence agencies, state police, the central police organizations, etc., are absolutely and totally alert. We've been keeping a very thorough watch on the social media.
From within these 8 pages flows a nefarious yet unambiguous design that the Islamic State has formulated to bleed India using Bangladesh. The contents of this interview have travelled far and wide within India's internal security setup. What is worrying then is that while the climate for growth of Islamic State in Bangladesh remains ripe and conducive, India is yet to build an effective firewall to insulate herself. With camera person Pinaki Sen in New Delhi, this is Jugal Purohit reporting for India Today.
It will take much time for these wounds to heal, and especially for people who were traumatized, of course, living that horror as they were captured, taken hostages by the terrorists. Tonight, our heart goes out to the families who lost their loved ones, who lost their own. It will be perhaps absolutely impossible and difficult to express their pain in words, but we can only hope that the government ensures that such kind of terror strikes do not take place yet again. This is a special broadcast that we got you all the way from Gulshan 2 in Dhaka. News and updates continue on the other side as well. For now, it's a goodbye from video journalist Kripal Singh and myself.